Guys, I need you to sit with that contradiction for a second, because it is the entire video. One headline treats this as a done deal. The super team has arrived. The other one, from the same summer, has rival executives around the league basically saying, good luck with that. Same roster, same month, completely different conclusion. I want to be completely fair here before we get into anything. This isn't a report. I'm not a beat writer. I don't have a source inside the Sixers front office. What I have is a paper trail, quotes, dates, betting numbers, and I'm going to walk you through all of it and let you decide. But I'll tell you where I've landed by the end. Here's the smoking gun that makes this video worth making right now. According to reporting on the sportsbook reaction to the LeBron signing, a trading strategy manager at BetMGM described something close to a one-sided stampede of money onto Philadelphia in the first hour after the news broke. The overwhelming majority of title bets, virtually all of them, landed on the Sixers. That same person, on the record, in the same reporting, said he personally isn't convinced this roster is a legitimate title contender. I'm not saying the bookmaker is lying to his own customers. I'm saying the guy setting the odds and the guy putting up the cash are telling two completely different stories, and only one of them has skin in the game. So let's catch up, for anyone just finding this. Philadelphia went into this summer with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey as the foundation. A talented core, sure, but a core that had never made it past the second round of the playoffs together. On July 1st, 2026, they agreed to send Paul George, a conditional 2028 first-round pick, an unprotected 2031 first, and 2 second-round picks to Boston for Jaylen Brown. That deal became official on July 6th. Then, on July 24th, LeBron James, a free agent for the first time since 2018, signed with Philadelphia on the 2-year deal you saw in that headline a minute ago. 4 All-Stars, 1 starting lineup. That's the pitch. That's also exactly why people are nervous. Because here's the thing about stacking stars like this. It works right up until the exact moment it doesn't. You have watched super teams get built before. You've watched some of them win it all, and you've watched some of them collapse under their own weight before they ever got there. So the question isn't really, is this team talented? Obviously, it's talented. The question is whether 4 players who have all, at different points in their careers, been the guy, the number 1 option, the last shot, the face of the franchise, can actually share one basketball at the same time in the same building for 2 years. Let's go through it in order, because the order matters more than people are giving it credit for. June 30th, 2026. LeBron's camp tells the Lakers he's not coming back. For the first time in almost a decade, the most accomplished player of his generation is a completely open, free agent. One day later, Philadelphia makes the Brown trade. Think about the timing here. You don't make a trade like that in 24 hours by accident. Somebody in that front office knew exactly what door they were trying to open. In the weeks that followed, LeBron's agent went on the Game Over podcast and laid out the list: Miami, Cleveland, Golden State, and now suddenly Philadelphia as the finalists. I want to be fair to the exact wording here, because there are a couple of slightly different versions of what was said floating around, and I'm not going to pretend I've got the transcript memorized word for word, but the through line across every outlet that covered it is the same. Philadelphia was not seriously being considered until the Brown trade happened. That's not a rumor. That's Rich Paul on his own podcast. For about 3 weeks, the recruiting pitch ran through the locker room, not the front office. Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid were reportedly the ones actually talking to LeBron. Jaylen Brown was in contact with Rich Paul directly. And according to ESPN's Shams Charania, the only coach LeBron spoke to during the entire process was Sixers head coach Nick Nurse.
The only coach that LeBron James spoke to during this 3-week-long process was Sixers head coach Nick Nurse.
I want to sit on that detail for a second, because I think people are skipping past it too fast. When a franchise wants a star, normally it's the front office making the calls, the owner sending the text, the head coach flying out for the in-person pitch. That's not what happened here. It was 2 guys who were about to hand him the ball, Maxey and Embiid, doing the recruiting themselves. That tells you something about how the locker room actually feels about this, separate from whatever the outside skepticism says. On ESPN's NBA Today, Ramona Shelburne relayed something Rich Paul reportedly told her that I think is the most human detail in this entire story. That going back to a place where you already won, Cleveland, Miami, risks cheapening the memory if it doesn't work out the same way twice.
When you've won in a place before, if you go back, it may not be the same. You kind of want to leave those memories where they were. You want to leave those memories as they are.
That's not a business explanation. That's a legacy explanation. File that away, because we're coming back to it. Then, July 24th, Friday, LeBron signs 2 years, $8 million, a player option on the back half. A contract structure that, by the way, is nowhere close to what a player of his stature could have commanded on the open market. I'm not calling that a bargain out of loyalty. I'm calling it a bet on a very specific, very short window. Okay, here's the receipts turn. The part where this stops being a feel-good super team story and starts being a business story. Look at what actually happened to the betting market step by step. That's not fan excitement. That's real money, moving in real time, in response to real information. And remember what that BetMGM trader told you a few minutes ago. Virtually all of the first hour's action went to Philadelphia, while he personally doesn't buy the roster as a true contender. A sportsbook's entire business model is built on being right about probability, not vibes. When the person running the numbers is taking the public's money on one side while privately doubting that side, that's not hype. That's an incentive structure. And incentive structures are the thing this channel actually cares about. Think about what it actually takes for a sportsbook to say something like that publicly. They don't need to. They could just take the money quietly and let the public believe whatever it wants to believe. The fact that this got said on the record to a reporter with his own name attached, that's not a guy hedging for fun. That's a guy who trades in probability for a living, watching a wave of public money go one direction, and still feeling the need to say, "I'm not sure I agree with you." You don't do that unless you actually mean it. Now, I want to steelman the other side here because I think it's a real argument, not a throwaway. There is a version of this story where none of the skepticism is really about basketball at all. It's just noise around anything LeBron touches, the same way it always has been. People said this about Miami. People said this about the Lakers. And every time, he found a way to make it work. That's a fair point. Go back to that good luck headline we opened on. Even that reporting, skeptical as it is, admits LeBron has spent 23 seasons adjusting his role to whatever roster he's on. Maybe that adaptability is the whole story and everything else is just talk. But here's the piece of evidence that keeps pulling me back the other way. According to Brendan Haywood, who played alongside LeBron, not against him, the actual gap in Philadelphia's roster last postseason wasn't a ball handler or a second star. It was a defensive, rebounding big man. Someone to do the dirty work Embiid, at this stage of his career, physically can't do every night anymore. And separately, one NBA assistant coach, speaking anonymously, so take it for exactly what anonymous means, described the James Embiid pairing bluntly as old and slow. A second assistant coach, quoted in that same reporting, took the completely opposite view and called Philadelphia a legitimate title threat. Two coaches, same league, same week, opposite conclusions. So which is it? I genuinely don't know. And I don't think the people inside the league know either, which might be the most honest thing I can tell you in this entire video. And look, I know some of you in the comments are already going to say I'm overthinking two anonymous quotes from coaches who don't even want their names attached to the take. Maybe you're right. Anonymous sourcing is exactly that. Anonymous. It doesn't carry the same weight as Haywood putting his own name and face behind what he's saying. I want to be fair about that distinction instead of blending them together like they're equally solid. But even stripping the anonymous stuff out entirely, you're still left with a former teammate of LeBron's on his own podcast, under his own name, saying the fit doesn't fully make sense to him. That part doesn't go away just because the coaches wanted to stay nameless. Here's where I want to zoom out, because I don't think there's a villain in this story, and I think looking for one misses what's actually going on. Nobody here is lying to you. Rich Paul was doing his job, running a process that got his client the best possible outcome. Philadelphia's front office saw a one-day window and jumped through it. That's not scheming. That's just how modern super teams get built now, fast, opportunistic, sometimes in 24 hours. And LeBron, at this stage of a 23-year career, isn't chasing a max contract anymore. He took $8 million. He's chasing something you can't put in a betting line. A chance to finish this thing on his own terms, in a city that's never actually won it, with him wearing the jersey. Embiid isn't the villain either. The man has been trying to prove his body will hold up for a decade, and every conversation about this team eventually circles back to whether his knees can carry a championship run. That's not a character flaw. That's just the reality of the body he's been given. This is just what pressure looks like when a franchise finally releases it all at once and lets the whole league watch. You put 4 stars in one locker room, you shorten the runway to 2 years, you sign the biggest name in the sport to the smallest contract number he's taken in decades. Every part of that is a pressure valve getting opened at once. Some of that pressure is going to come out as chemistry. Some of it's going to come out as somebody's shot attempts going down. And some of it, honestly, might come out exactly the way the skeptics think it will. Nobody gets to know that yet. Not the front office, not the players, not the guy setting the odds. So here's what I'm actually watching for. And I want to be clear. This next part is me pattern matching, not reporting anything as confirmed. Training camp is the real test, specifically whether Embiid makes it through healthy, since virtually every odds maker who's weighed in has tied Philadelphia's ceiling directly to his availability. After that, watch how the shots actually get split once the games start counting. Brown spent last season as a clear number 1 option in Boston, and that doesn't just disappear because he changed zip codes. And keep an eye on whether Philadelphia makes another move for depth behind that starting 5, because that's a gap multiple reports have flagged separately from the star power conversation entirely. None of that is decided yet. All of it is worth watching. I'm not calling this a super team. I'm not calling it a mistake. I'm calling it the most honestly uncertain championship bet in the league right now, which, weirdly, might be the most interesting thing about it. Let me know what you think in the comments.